Oh gosh, it is really looking bad in here. Like it looks like I'm in a, hold on, let me see what I can do. This the whole way. Maybe that will do it. Okay, try this again. I'm in my bedroom because my children. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
How's the newborn?
Gosh, you made me laugh. I meant to send you a picture. Yeah, she's like one, so she's yes, she's she's definitely big now. And throwing temper tantrums and like
Yeah.
doing all the things. So that's really, it's getting fun. Haha.
Has she started running yet?
What'd you say? Is she running yet?
Yeah.
No, not yet. But I mean, yeah, like just little. She is definitely walking, and she's definitely mobile. Yeah, she's doing great though. She's doing great. And Emma's great. 4 years old, testing every limit.
What was she harder than your other kids or no?
Um, well, like I just have Emma 4 and Lainey who's 1, and Lainey just seems to have more of a temper, like a tantrum. Like she's definitely more like her fuse is short. I don't know, maybe it's just her age. I'm not sure, but it's pretty crazy. How about you? So you're training to do the to do like over at one of the automotive places.
Yeah, I'm at Clarion Ford now. I'm training to be a car
Okay.
salesman.
You like what's the goal you said? What will you be?
A car salesman.
You will. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. You
Have you?
like it so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. I mean, I'm still in training. I like the whole new cars. I'm into new cars, so it's nice to
Mm-hmm.
learn about them and really be in them and feel them.
Yeah. Oh,
Super
that's
interesting
cool.
what the new 2021 cars have inside of them and how they built them.
Yeah.
How much training have you been doing during this COVID mess?
I mean, as much as, I want to, of course, but mostly because of the kids and because I'm still in school. I feel like I told you that at some point. So,
Yeah.
Dr. Schwabenbauer yet, December. December of this year. That's it. So, but I'm still running and I'm still lifting and stuff like that. Just, whatever I can fit in.
What made your decision to go back to school?
Clarion told me that, this is recording like right now.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I didn't know if you like they were gonna do like an intro or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's all good.
Yeah.
Totally fine. Yeah. So actually, when I started with Clarion, when I was an adjunct professor, so I was only teaching a couple classes, sort of part time. When they had the full time position open, they told me that if I did get the full time position, I would need to get a doctorate. So that made it fairly clear that I needed to get a doctorate. So yeah, there wasn't a lot of like, oh, maybe I'll just do this. It was more like, if you're going to teach, you're going to do this. So yeah, it was more like that.
So
So yeah, made it pretty easy.
is your teaching gonna take a back seat right now while you finish?
No, And the only time that I did take a semester off was when Lainey was born in November. And then that spring, I knew that having like, a 3 or 4 month old plus the doctorate plus teaching would be too much. So I did, and that was the spring where the pandemic hit and everybody was out of school from March until the end of the semester. So I think that would have been very stressful, even that transition to, being like, teaching and doing all of it and having that transition to online and never having done it before. So I was thankful that I was actually off for, I took maternity leave basically. So, I took unpaid leave so that I could hang out. So that was the only semester I was off. Other than that, this year, yeah, I'm pushing through. It's called it's your dissertation year. So it's a year where I design my own study, do the study, write up the study in like fullness. So it's going to be a 200 or 300 page at least endeavor. So everybody does it. It's like a rite of passage. Get it done.
So what's harder, being a mom or training for an Ironman?
Oh, wow. That actually is a really good question because they're so different. But I will say this: when you do something as hard as training for the Ironman and doing the race itself, it makes the rest of life look very like approachable, that it makes it look like it's doable. So I think the skills you use for that endeavor, you use throughout your entire life, like perseverance, discipline, patience, timing, like paying attention to sleep, and if you're eating well and doing all those things. So if you aren't doing those things right in life, then you basically, like, you don't reap the same benefits of whatever you're doing. So I think with motherhood, if you don't have all those same things, then you end up being kind of, it makes it harder than it even could already is. So they're just totally different. Like they're very different, but they have the similar qualities in that, hopefully I've developed some of those, because I'm definitely doing this late, but that's okay. So I'm glad I did it that way. So.
Your athletic career, like, have an impact on you being a mom, or do you think you being a mom made you better athletically?
Ooh, that is a good question, Ashby, actually. Mainly because I went back to triathlon for just a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, in 2017. So I had M in 16. And then I tried it again in 17 just to see what it'd be like. And I do think a lot of athletes do that, because it's kind of like, Kyle and I were talking about this the other day, my husband, that like, we don't want to be, I don't want to say like defined by pregnancy, but a lot of women want to prove that I can still do whatever I used to do, and this isn't going to stop me, and I'm going to just, be right back at it. And, so I think it's a time where a lot of women feel that way, but at the same time, they're realizing I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, this is going to take so much time and effort and energy and all those things. So, I don't know. I think for me, it was important to go back because I really wanted to see what would happen. So I had to see, did I still have it? Could I still do it? And the answer was yes, but the sacrifice, like the juice, was it really worth the squeeze? You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of where I ended up with it. I was like, this is taking so much time, to do it. And at the same time, I knew I had to start my doctorate. So I knew that was coming at some point very soon. The time I would have to even train would be so limited that it would just be like, I'd be all strung out all the time. So that year I was glad I did it. I had an amazing year. I do think that like having a baby actually makes you stronger in some ways. So I think it was good. I tested it out, but I knew it probably wasn't sustainable, at least not while the kids are young. Like they're still very young. So I'll probably get back to it. I just don't know exactly when.
Anybody making excuses
Yeah.
Anybody making excuses just needs to talk to you, because you did a triathlon a year after having a baby. And some people don't even want to go to the gym because they're sore.
Well, yeah, and I get it. And everybody has their own challenges. And I do think like coming from all that before gave me a huge leg up. You know what I mean? Like I already knew what it was like. I knew how to train. I'd been doing it for 15 years. So I had a lot of advantages in that, and I had a supportive family. You can't do it unless Kyle would have said, this is something that I understand that you need to do. So I think that is huge. If all those pieces aren't in place, it makes it incredibly hard. Like I don't know how somebody can do it. So I think that I did have a good setup that year. We said we were going to try it, and we did. And the result was it was good. But man, it took a lot. So by the end of the year, I was ready. I'd done 2 Ironmans and either 2 or 3 half Ironmans that year. And I just felt totally tapped out. Mm-hmm. Being like, what's that techno song? It's like One More Time. I don't know. There was like a techno song. It was like, one more time. Dun, 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 dun. So I was singing that in the morning of my race that I was doing in Chattanooga that year. I was like, one more time. Like I can do this one more time. And I think that might be it. So I was ready. I wanted to retire on my own terms, not have have an injury or,
right.
Well, I faded out into nothingness. I couldn't do it. Couldn't hack it. I didn't want to be like that.
Does Kyle get intimidated by you at all?
You're so funny. No, I mean, he definitely thinks I'm crazy, but he knew that when he married me. But I wasn't even into triathlon when we got married. So right. Yeah, so I do think, for all you people that are young and listening, that you should just realize that there is a huge amount of growth between the ages of 20. How old are you?
23.
Like I was going to say 24-ish and 35. Like there's a huge amount of growth that happens during that time. And you're going through so many life changes and all those things. So a lot of people are like, yeah, getting married. And it's an awesome thing. is just, you have to also like either be really willing to grow with your spouse, because they're going to go through a ton of stuff during that time period, and figure out who they are.
Right.
You know? Yeah. There's in college, I mean, you do some of that, but even more happens in that 10 years, I feel like, from 25 to 35. So yeah, you have to be, if your spouse turns out like a crazy triathlete, you have to be willing to roll with them, or else you won't make it. So yeah.
I still don't really feel like I even know who I am. So that kind of gives me, a little bit of light in the future.
Why are you dating anybody?
No, single over here.
Right now? Okay, that's all right. Single, ready to mingle. It's a good time in a pandemic to be in that kind of place too. Like, just, not have the pressure of trying to go out and do all this stuff and meet somebody and all that kind of thing. You can focus on what you're doing with your job.
Yeah, that's all. I like the job, and then I'm falling in love with podcasting. It's kind of, because I hate reading. So like, I don't want to read something about Kim Schwabenbauer. I want to ask her questions about what she did.
There you go. No, I totally agree. So you listen to a lot of podcasts too.
I do a lot.
Yeah, I think they're the wave of the future. People love them. People like listening when they're driving, they can listen in the car, you can listen on a plane, you can listen anywhere, and you can find out about so many different subjects.
Yeah.
Kyle was obsessed with the Joe Rogan podcast for a long time. Tons of listeners. Yeah, he's brings on amazing people.
Gosh, yes.
Yeah, like who would have thought? I would have never thought 15 years ago that people would be interested in this. Like, this is what they would be doing.
You know what the Moab 240? You obviously know what that is.
I have heard of it.
The girl Courtney, what's her last name? Do you know her?
Courtney you mean from school, or is this?
No, she runs the Moab 240, and her first name is Courtney. She was on the Joe Rogan, and she obviously, it's male and women, but it was she won the entire race by 22 hours.
Like, she won the men's and
She beat the men. Yeah.
She beat all the men
by 22 hours.
Wow, that is incredible. So no wonder he had her on, because he was basically trying to figure out what was her training like, what was her mental mind, what was, all those things.
She's like this small woman who, when you look at her, you wouldn't expect it. And she's like, she like doesn't diet or anything. She just kind of trains really hard. So when
how old is she?
Well, she's like 35, I think.
Yeah,
now.
I was gonna say that's a good time for endurance sports. Endurance sports, actually, like especially long distance, is like 35 to 45. Key.
Are you super relaxed in training? Like, how do you approach training? Like, when you diet and like you're dieting, how is it?
Well, I mean, I definitely had to, during that period of my life, I had to be very meticulous. And when I wasn't meticulous at first, I definitely noticed my recovery wasn't as good. My workouts weren't as good. And my coach would say, listen, this is what you teach. You have to actually follow this. This is like practice what you preach time. It's just hard when you go to events and all these things, and everybody's just like cake, pie, it's an endless buffet, blah, everybody's eating everything. And you're thinking, I train all the time, I should be able to eat whatever I want. That's just not truly the case. It's more, am I going to eat the right things, put the right things in my body, have all the nutrients, make sure I'm getting enough protein, not overdoing it. My body fat had to be 11 to 13% the entire time.
Wow.
Really hard, to stay at that kind of percentage. And so I wouldn't, if that was competition season, then you know how it is. You were a wrestler.
Yeah.
Like, there were certain seasons for it. Like, off season was great because you can gain extra 5-7 pounds, love your life, have some drinks. But then, whenever it was competition, it was time to like get serious. And so it had to be, as the race came, it was like more and more dialed in, more and more, I had to say, this is the way it is. So if I have to eat this way, this is going to be this period of time, and then I'm going to get the most out of the race, and then I can, indulge a little bit more than, I would otherwise. But I was still very big on carb. You have to eat a lot of carbs if you're going to be an endurance athlete, but you have to just be really strategic with them. Like, it wasn't like I was eating, donuts and things that weren't really that good carbs. It was more like really carbs good kind of carbs for you, whole grains, and, you know, all the good stuff and fruits and vegetables and all those things, and making sure I got all that in. And I had to be serious about alcohol, which was really a bummer at the time.
Yeah.
Not because I'm an alcoholic, but because I had to be like, okay, I'm only going to have, you know, one glass, like one night or 2 nights a week. And that's it. No more. So we'd go to stuff and everybody would, you know, be hanging out, or we'd be out on the boat on the river. I'd be like, yeah, nope, not for me. And that's hard, because then it becomes your whole life. I mean, it's not just impacting, you know, what you're doing when you're training, it's impacting all the time. And that's hard for people to have that amount of discipline. But
I feel like at a high level, every little thing matters. Like I know with wrestling, like high school athletes would have a bad diet and they would cut a bunch of weight and then wrestle. It'd be easier. But if you did that at the Division I level, you'd feel kind of shitty. And then, you know, that's what I talk to a lot of the high level wrestlers, and they're always on. They're always on.
Yep.
So the smallest things matter.
Exactly. No, that's so true. And I think that's true. Yeah. The elite level of any sport, you get to that point. You're searching for the 1%, you know, or the 0.5%. So, I mean, even in an Ironman race, the race I came back for after Emma was Ironman Mont Tremblant. And I knew who was on the start list. I was like, this is it. This is my race. And about a week and a half before, this other really good friend of mine, also coming back from a baby, also in like the top 5 in the world, said, I'm going to sign up for this too. And I was like, oh, seriously? Really, Rachel? Do you have to sign up for this one? But you know what? You got to race whoever shows up. So she did. I lost that race by 1 minute and 29 seconds in a 9 hour and 20 minute day.
Wow.
It just goes to show you that if you even, you know what I mean? It's like the whole day, where could I have found 1 minute and 29 seconds? You know, could I have done something else? Anything else that I could have done? Not to find it. But it's still a great day. And, you know, she had an amazing day. So that's who you want to race. You want to race the best. So whatever happens, happens. That's how it goes.
Would you prefer someone being like right on your tail versus you just dominating?
Wow, that's a tough question. I guess because when you're in front, you can, you know, no matter what, you can only control yourself and what you're doing. A lot of people like are running scared whenever you get to the last leg of the triathlon. So if you're not a good runner, like everyone knows what kind of runner everybody else is. So a lot of people know that they're running scared because someone behind them is fantastic. So it's a matter of how much time can they put into them before they get to that point.
Yeah.
You know? And then you have to do a lot of math, Ashby. You have to do like all kinds of math during the race. You have to say, okay, so if they're gaining by, you know, if I get reports they're gaining by 10 seconds a mile, and I have, you know, 6 minutes on them, and, you know, the race is this how many miles to go. Like there's all kinds of math that you have to do during the race, which is not that fun. But, you know, for me, I was always coming from behind because I wasn't a great swimmer. So for me, it was always like catch everyone you possibly can. And it might not be till the end of the day. So it always came down to the last, you know, 10 miles of the marathon, which is hard, but just kind of how it works.
That math, is that when sort of I know you probably have a team. Is that when your team comes in and sort of does those things for you?
Yeah, they will. Like I definitely have, you know, usually my coach is on the phone with Kyle, who's on site. So then he's, you know, the times in which I'm seeing him, he's writing everything down. He's, you know, he's timing in between people. So he saved a lot of those from my big races about who was where and, you know, and that's fun to like look back at that stuff and actually, you know, kind of relive the day a little bit. And, but yeah, he definitely did a lot of that for me. I mean, there's specific rules though, like no one can run next to you while you are racing because they would consider that a mental advantage.
Right.
So there's a lot of rules like that. No headphones, you know, just any small thing that anybody could get from an outside, you're not allowed to do, because that would be, I mean, even in the end, they used to have the bikes, you would have a bike in front of you as a pro, and that person rides in front of you, and they actually, and they're provided by the race. It's not anybody you know. This is just a random person, but they're to clear the path. They're to make sure that everyone knows you're coming, that nothing impedes your race. It's just a safety thing. For a very long time, that biker was in front of you, but they decided it was too much of a mental advantage for the top three. So they made the biker go behind them.
Oh.
So then for the last, you know, 2-3 years of my career, it was always the biker was behind you, which was weird because they really weren't clearing a path. They were just sort of like with you and to report to media and to other people, you know, if you had a problem or you had some issue, that way they could report it to everybody that, have a like walkie-talkies or cell phones or whatever. But yeah, it was interesting. So even that they changed towards the end because they didn't want the top people to have an advantage over anybody who might be coming up on them.
So would your
crazy.
husband like sort of scream things at you from the sideline? Is that how that would work? If you
Yeah, totally. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, he was always and he always had a plan. Like I knew where he would be. So we did a lot of like scouting. Like we'd scout the race course. We would scout to see where good places were for him to be. So that way, if I knew he was coming up, then I'm particularly listening to how far in front, how far behind. Those are the two things you want to know. So how far is this girl and on this side, when to catch the next girl, or he'd say like number 2 and 3 are, 5 and 6 minutes. So like, if that's coming up, it's like a mental boost that you're not that far, but you got to stay on it, and how far is the person behind you? Like, are they 1 minute back? Because if they're coming hard, you should know about it.
Right.
Might not be able to do anything about it, but it's still better to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So all right, so let's rewind. What was the first sport Kim ever played?
I definitely was a runner, even early on. So like from high school with cross country and track and all that kind of stuff. Although I was also a cheerleader.
Were you?
Yeah, I was.
I didn't know that.
I was also a cheerleader, like 7th, 8th grade cheerleading. And yeah, but I definitely ran the entire time. So those were no coordination sports. Like if you ask Kyle, he will tell you. We actually were just looking at one that was dodgeball, but you had to like have a beer in your hand for this one dodgeball thing we were gonna do. And he goes, "You are so uncoordinated without the beer. I don't think it's possible for you to actually play dodgeball with a beer. And if you spilled the beer, you were out."
Oh.
I know, right? I actually just talked to Lost in the Wilds about doing that. I talked to them last night. I was like, "You guys should do this.
I would do that.
Dodgeball outside this summer."
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll let you know. I'll let you know if they said they'd think about it.
Did you start like as a young girl? Like how young?
I mean, like 12. Yeah. Whenever you could start to do junior high sports.
Yeah.
Whenever. Yeah.
I ran the
What about you? Did you start young?
No, I mean I started playing baseball when I was like 5 or 6. I didn't start wrestling until I was like 13.
Okay. I didn't know. Well, I guess people do. I do know that around here they have some like leagues and different things for even younger than 13.
I'm from Baltimore.
Kind of late actually for you.
Yeah, I'm from Baltimore, Maryland though. So I was.
Oh, you are okay. So you're a transport. You moved up here.
Yeah, and my family they're Dominican, so we have like the baseball heritage. So we started out with baseball, and then when I found wrestling, I was like, I fell in love with individual sports in general. I don't like team sports like for myself anymore.
Why is that?
I think it's sort of like everyone around you sort of makes excuses in a team. I feel like for the most part, not on a good team, but when you're individual, like it's just like I don't know, there's no excuses. It's you if you win or lose, it's on you. And I like that pressure. Even when I came to D1 and like was getting my butt kicked, basically, I like the fact that it was on me whether I wanted to get better or not.
That is true. And there's so much time you can put into it as an individual. You have a lot of control over how things go. You can do the prep, you can do all the stuff, whereas I do feel like, yeah, there's that element in the team situation. You can't control everything. It is you absolutely have to rely on each other, good or bad.
And then wrestling, like you can have the best coaches in the world, but if you don't want to get better, you're never going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this mental game. You're playing this constant mental game.
That's very, very true. Do you miss it now that are you doing anything with that kind of stuff now?
I did miss it when I first decided to leave. And there was this middle period where I didn't really miss it, but now I'm getting back to missing it. And I started coaching at the Clarion High School now.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think I want to get into like commentating wrestling. I've been looking into that.
Okay.
I love the sport. I started falling in love with studying the sport now that I don't wrestle, so I watch it a lot. Yeah. You learn so much more when you watch your sport and you study it. So I want to get into that. I obviously I feel like I have to study it more, but yeah, I want to get more into wrestling. That's my goal.
Oh, and you can have a huge influence on the young kids that are doing it. I go back and I give talks at Clarion High School, at Cal U for they have cross country kids in the summer. I give a talk there. I just think you have so much influence on younger they are looking for, role models and people to talk to them about what their experience was and what made the difference. And I think kids, especially from small schools around here, they need to hear that you can make it out and you can do amazing things. And it does not matter if you graduate with 60 people in your class, it's not the variable that is going to be inhibiting you. It's about what are you going to do with the time you have and what you want to do. So I think they need to hear that. So that's a good thing if you end up coaching a little bit, around here.
Yeah, and I love this area. It's so fun. But getting back to when I said,
Okay.
I asked you if you started running when you were young, because
Yeah, I did.
I ran that 5K here in Clarion 2 years ago. I was finishing up. It was like I was at like the 20-minute mark. I'm going up to the finish line, and this little girl just sprints by me and beats me. I didn't see it coming. And and then there were like 3 little boys behind me. I was like, I didn't know kids were this fast. She was so
fast. They really are.
And then I tried catching up.
I know.
I didn't do it.
You couldn't even do it. No, she's probably gone like a flash. There are some families around here that are literally running families. I'm trying to think of there's a name of this family that I would see their kids at everything, and they had at least 4. And both the girls and the boys would always clean up for their age, like not even just for their age overall. I mean, they were just doing really well. So I think that, a lot depends on what you grow up around. And I'm hoping that my girls are growing up around sports and athletics and, seeing it and thinking it's fun and all that kind of stuff, because then they want to do it. So that would be great. So yeah, I think you can start pretty early. I wouldn't want kids young doing long distances. I wouldn't be like, oh, you're 10 years old, let's run a marathon. Right. At that age, I think that's, they're still growing, they're still developing. So there's been more research that is looking into what is the right age or amount for somebody who's, like between 10 and then when you get 14, 15, 16, a little more leeway. By the time you're actually 18, your body can withstand a little more, but even then it'd be nice to wait for the really long distances until, you're in your 20s. In my opinion. I
did 1 marathon, worst thing ever. Well, we did like the salute to service thing. So we had the 40-pound rucksack on in our uniforms. But
how was that? Tough, right?
So hard. And it felt like I was out there forever. And
what was your time?
Like 6.5.
Well, but you had that you had a 40-pound sack on.
And plus I wasn't a big runner, but we were just kind of, obviously I didn't run the whole thing.
Yeah. Wow. So where was that? Where'd that take place?
Moraine State Park in Slippery Rock.
Oh yeah. I think I'm going to do maybe an ultra, like maybe just 25K or I mean 50K. I think I'm going to do in May. I'm going to do one there. Oh yeah. They have some nice stuff down Moraine State Park. Like they have a lot of events.
You're like only 50K. No big deal.
Oh, well, I mean, for being like someone who does long distances, but I haven't done trail running. So I want to try something new and different and something I haven't done before. And I do think the trail people are very laid back. The people who do that kind of running are very, like people, they do care still where they come in, but it's not nearly as, people are out there watching and, we're out in the woods. So even Kyle just said, if you do that, we're not coming. I said, that's fine. I don't need anyone to come. Like, I don't need anyone to show up. It's all good. I don't have to have like a cheering fan club. I can literally just go and see what happens. And I have no idea how long something like that will take. And it's kind of good. It's nice to not know. Whereas before I knew down to the minute. Now it's like, oh, well, maybe it'll take this long. I have no clue. So 50K, I think, is 32 miles. Look at me. I don't even know the distance. I'm pretty sure it's 32. So
I love the unknown. That's my favorite. Going into the unknown is such a rush.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you definitely can't replicate that. And I think those of us that got used to it, you want it back. You want to find it again in some other way, shape, or form. You want to be able to get out there and do something new or whatever it is that it takes to do that. So would you ever do another marathon?
No.
Without a 40-pound sack?
No, I don't even like running. I stepped on the treadmill once in the past 6 months. Like last month I tested my mile, but I like to lift now. Like that's my I only like what I noticed. I've lost like 20 pounds since last summer, but
nice.
Over the past few years, I've just been trying so many things. I knew that I only like lifting, but then I would try running and I would stop doing that. I would try CrossFit. And then, but now I when I started only lifting, doing what I enjoy, I started losing weight and getting stronger. So I think I'm just gonna stick with only lifting.
Well, and it's just so great for so many different aspects. Obviously, yeah, building muscle mass, but I mean, your bones get stronger. There's a lot of new research about lifting and mental health, like resistance training equals better mental health. And in the pandemic, everybody needed it.
Yeah.
We bought some stuff like just for here because we need it. We just were like, we need this. So we needed at least a set of free weights and stuff like that. Cause yeah, I don't want to leave that behind. Do you lift, where do you lift, Pharrell or somewhere else?
Pharrell.
Pharrell. A lot of good people are saying about Pharrell. We're kind of thinking about it. So I might even try it out pretty soon just to see what it's like. Cause that would be pretty nice. Yeah. People really like it there. So I like the Y for the kids because the pool and all the stuff, but I think Pharrell has a very good lifting, like hardcore crew, it seems like. And it seems like you all like, do you know a lot of people that go there?
Yeah, they're all super friendly.
Yeah, exactly. So that would be a good supportive environment for lifting. So I might see you there. Who knows? It's 24 hours. So that's nice. We're giving them a little plug here.
Yeah. I'm going to have the owner, Kelly Farrell, on my podcast next week.
So. Oh, nice. Okay, good. That's great. That'll be very good. I'd like to hear that one.
Yeah. And yeah, I did notice that lifting, really taking it serious was really good for mental health. Because when COVID first started, what college kids kind of did was like, okay, we're off school and we just drank. That's all everyone was doing. Right. And then I noticed after a while, I was like, what am I doing?
Right. Not helping me. Right.
Yeah.
Right. There's only so much of like in that direction you can go. And then you realize that you're probably doing a lot more damage than good. You're not, like it doesn't make you feel motivated and excited about your life. It makes you feel kind of crappy about your life. So there's a balance there. That's for sure. Yeah, totally get that.
And I like the feeling because I know how it feels to be like, because when I was in RTC and wrestling, I was basically running full time, that marathon and just mileage in general. And now I'm a lifter, but I'm like 50 pounds or I would say 40 pounds heavier right now walking around, but this is the best I've ever felt in my life. Exactly.
And that's why I usually try to encourage women, like, one, you're not going to get, jacked. You're not going to get like, so that your neck is, the size of like, your shoulders. Okay. This is not going to happen. Our body types are not such that us lifting heavy weights equals way too much muscle mass. Like the likelihood of that happening is very slim. So it is good for women to get in there and to, lift heavy things. It makes you feel good about yourself. You get more muscle mass. Muscle mass burns more calories. It's just a good thing for injury prevention for my athletes and for me personally. Like if I'm not lifting, my chances of getting injured in terms of endurance sports are much, much higher. So if I can build that foundation of strength training, then I don't have nearly problems with, my hips and knees and all the kind of stuff that can really take such a pounding with running. So I think it's overall, I've been loving it lately too. So you and I are on the same page with that. I've been really enjoying it. So someone said to me the other day, oh, you should get into powerlifting. I was like, I don't know if that's for me per se. But hey, who knows? And women are you're going to be heavier poundage wise, but you're not going to look like you are. So who cares about the scale? That's my thought about the scale. I do not care what my weight is. I care that I'm strong, so that's the ideal situation. I'd rather be strong than skinny or like thin in any way, shape or form.
Yeah. I sort of train like the powerlifting style, but I don't do deadlifts.
Okay.
I pulled my groin in 2019 and I was out for 6 months.
Ooh.
I have PTSD now.
I get that. I totally get that. So you just have to be careful with all that kind of stuff and make good decisions. And if people are going to do those Olympic lifts, you have to know somebody that knows what they're doing. You have to have correct form and have somebody watch you and all that kind of stuff, because there's a lot of weight moving quickly, when you're like, cleaning it, pushing it, all the stuff, like you need somebody to make sure you're doing it right before you're just throwing weights around. You can't be just doing that. Yeah.
Do you do yoga?
I do. I do.
I hear so many.
What made you ask that?
Well, because yoga is what helped me. I did physical therapy for my groin, and it wasn't working for months. And then I did yoga just for a little bit, and it just felt amazing. And now I'm sort of getting back into it because I follow so many people who do yoga on social media, and they say all these good things and like injury. Like I just want to feel good forever. And I hear people who are older than me saying they do yoga and they feel amazing. I
Yep.
don't want to be that 25-year-old who complains about how his lower back hurts.
It's so true. And yeah, yoga is great for that. It's a wonderful stretching strength kind of combo. I'm amazed at how less flexible I am now than I was. I remember when I was training and I could just, like, throw my body in these different, things, and no problem stretching this, stretching that. My hip flexors were really great. These days, if I wasn't doing it at all, I can't even imagine. So, yeah, I do hot yoga a lot in Franklin. So they have a great class, or I can do it at home. I mean, there's so many apps on your phone and all that kind of stuff that just a minute a piece, like, is nice with yoga. If you could do 5 minutes, it's better than nothing. Little downward dog, little a little vinyasa, stuff like that is awesome. But I do like doing it in the class too. That has been really fun.
I want to get into classes. Like, I've only learned it through YouTube, and then my stretching is
Mhm.
based around it. But I really want to get into classes and learn more.
Well, come with me sometime. Tuesday and Thursday. It starts at 6. It goes 6 to 7 at Impel. It's up in Franklin.
I'll text you. I'm actually interested. I've heard good things about hot yoga.
Yeah, no, it's really, really nice because even with the heat, I think it allows you to stretch that much further, and you really feel like you're really working. Plus, it's a great place to pick up girls. So just saying, like, where are all the, in shape girls? They're at yoga. So I don't know if they're single or not. I can't say that for sure, but certainly that's a good place. I was just thinking the other day about someone that asked me, well, can't you find someone like hook me up with a single? I'm thinking, where would I go if I was a guy and I'd go to yoga. So that's what I thought of. So yoga might be your place.
I kind of have street creds because I know Kim Schwabenbauer.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, I can get you in. I know people. And it's a very accepting environment. That's the nice thing about yoga is that, they'll even say, no one should ever be afraid to do it. It's even in a class environment because they'll say, listen, if this is your first time here, if you feel uncomfortable in a certain pose or this is too much for you, just go to child's pose, which is just like get down, on the ground and just relax and lay there for a minute. It's a judgment-free zone. It is a non-competition zone. So it's exactly the opposite of everything else I've ever done in my entire life. So that part is nice because that way you can just learn, not feel pressure. I can't do half the stuff these people do, men or women. Like they're doing handstands, they're doing stuff. I'm just like, yep, enjoy yourself because I'm not gonna be doing that. But the stuff I want to do, I can try it. So that's why it's really nice. I like it for that. So come with me.
I'll actually text you. I want to come.
Okay.
And you're from the area, right?
Yeah, I've lived here my whole life.
Were you winning states in cross country in high school, or how did you do there?
I really wasn't. I actually, I didn't have a whole lot of a girls team at that point when I went to Keystone High School, so right down the road from me. And there really wasn't a whole lot of females on my team, or if there was, I was sort of having trouble, like I needed people to push me. So I did a lot of training with the men whenever I was training. But even when I got to my senior year, I tried really hard. I wanted to make it to states. That was a big goal for me, and I didn't make it. I ended up, 1 or 2 spots away from making it. I didn't run in college my entire freshman year at Penn State because I'm Penn State Division I school, coming from a small school. It's not like I was recruited or anything. So the only way I made it on the team was I was a walk-on.
Was that intimidating walking on the Penn State?
It was in a way. I couldn't believe that she actually was going to let me do it. But so, like, we were injured. They were not doing well. They were in a really bad spot whenever I actually got on the team. So she was like, oh, you want a pair of sweats and you're not injured? Sure. Well, it doesn't, no sweat off our back if you want to show up. So I trained all summer thinking it was going to be this really hardcore tryout and all this stuff. And then I literally just showed up for practice one day and she's like, yeah, okay. She's like, you can run. I couldn't believe it. I was so excited. So, and actually this is a good one. I like this. What I'm actually doing my research on for my dissertation is related back to those days. So the coach that I had at the time, and you'll identify with this because of wrestling, she was basically weighing the athletes, the girls, in front of each other. She was encouraging people to skip meals. She was telling people that they needed to be lighter and lighter. A lot of the girls were just basically had either disordered eating or eating disorders. So they actually were so injured because they had stress fractures. And so at the time I was thinking, what is going on here? Like, why is she acting this way? I'm not going to be skipping any meals. Like I think it's important to eat. I'm not going to, what's going on with these girls? And then why are they all so injured? So what they did was they realized about most of our team actually wasn't menstruating. So not me per se, but all these other girls, because the body shut down their hormone, like basically the estrogen, the LH, the FSH, all the things you need to be able to reproduce are shut down because your body doesn't have enough energy to be able to sustain them. So, and then you need estrogen to deposit bone. So without enough estrogen, you can't build any bone mineral density. So that's why they all had stress fractures. And so they were starting to realize this right when I was on the team, and a lot of research was being done at Penn State. So that's what my dissertation research is on, is basically what happens when we don't have enough energy. So we call it low energy availability, whether it's intentional or not. Sometimes it's not intentional. Athletes just don't realize how much they need to eat to support their actual lifestyle and all their activity. So then that's what I'm doing it on. So I'm interested in that area because of that time that I was at Penn State. And a very good friend of mine has had problems all her life because of it. So kind of crazy.
Will you be looking into the university wrestling team while doing that study?
You know what? I did collect some data on the entire Clarion University athletic program. I actually collected it. It would have been this past fall. I did, you know how every athlete has to do a pre-participation evaluation. So you basically go in the computer, you fill out these questions, you know what I'm talking about? So everybody does that. So I collected data on the back end from that. So I haven't looked at all of it yet, but the reason I did that is because not all Division 1, 2, or 3 schools have the same questions. So they're supposed to be asking these specific 12 questions that will help to identify athletes that might be at risk. Well, some schools have 3 of the questions, some have 6, some have 4, some have none. So what my research was looking at that point was trying to see how many did Clarion University ask and what were our answers as a team. So as a university, I haven't looked at that yet, but because my dissertation is actually going to look at the athletic trainers. So they're one of the main ones that actually usually screen for this and have a lot to do with it. So I'm going to test their knowledge and their confidence in treating this disorder at Division 1, 2, and 3 universities all across the country. So I'm sending them a survey, and then I'm doing like an educational module that I designed, and then they'll do the survey again and see if it changed their view, outcome, what they know about it. And hopefully they'll change their actual pre-participation screening. Like hopefully they'll actually go do it. They'll go say, you know what, we aren't doing the right things here. We need to add more questions, really try to figure out whether these are the people that are at risk or not. So that's what I'm doing for that.
That's interesting, because there's obviously been a lot of I'm thinking of the word. There's been a lot of evaluations on wrestlers and then, but it seems like there are still high-level wrestlers who cut a ton of weight, but they still can compete at a high level. Why do you think?
Right. And you got to wonder, like, how is that happening? Is their body just adjusted? Well, what they do know from the research is men have a lot more. They can cut even more so than women can. Women start to see influences on the reproductive system much earlier than men. Men have a lot more leeway with all of that because you people you're not having the babies. So it's like the women's bodies know for a fact that it cannot support what they're doing, all the output, and a small person this cannot happen. So women are affected much sooner than men. We start to see changes much sooner. But men, they're actually seeing lower testosterone. So lower testosterone levels and like low libido, like no sex drive, things like that are some of the signs for athletes that are low energy for long periods of time. And your body really does adjust. It turns its own metabolism down so that it can basically continue to function, because there's only one way to do it, and it's to be able to, it has to burn less, so that's why when they actually do usually get some food, or like they, get their energy up and eat more, then usually you do gain weight pretty quickly because it's been low for so long, even like a state of deficit for so long.
I noticed they try to track it, like athletic trainers specifically try to track the
Mhm.
wrestlers, but you can't really stop it at the end of the day. But
I know it's hard. It is hard because that's why I think we do need to look at certain sports like rowing, wrestling, some of those that have weight class requirements, and just make sure that, and I think they do have some things in place where they know what the amount is appropriate. Like you shouldn't be able to drop down, by 3 weight classes and still compete. You know what I mean? Like
the
they
way
need to
wrestling
figure out.
works, you do the hydration test.
Yeah.
You're allowed to get down to 6%, I believe, and they cut you off there.
Yeah. Right. So like what's reasonable for a person, and then what's not, so that they can't, yeah, like it would be ridiculous if you're trying to wrestle at something that just is not feasible for your body.
They made
Yeah.
they made trash bags and sauna suits illegal for wrestlers.
Yes. Good. That was
Only
crazy talk.
It's only illegal for like high school and college because I think like 4 wrestlers died or something on the track using it. So like, say if Thunder were to catch a wrestler with a trash bag, he could kick him off the team. He probably would.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good they have some of that in place. They need to, sometimes we're our own worst enemies, people. And athletes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so true.
These UFC fighters also, I've heard there's fighters who fight at 155, but they walk around all year at like 190.
Wow.
Which
that is huge.
There's no really set rules in place for UFC fighters when it comes to cutting weight. There's no one tracking them, so they're kind of just doing it on their own.
Wow. I mean, I'm part of a sports dietitian listserv, and it's collegiate and professional sports dietitians. So it's supposed to be, it basically is anyone college level that's working with athletes, but also professional athletes. Like, some dietitians consult for the Major League Baseball. But I've also seen more consulting for the UFC people than I ever have. And they all ask questions to this listserv so we all can see, what kind of questions are they dealing with? Or sometimes people will be looking for somebody specific, like I need someone in the Boston area with soccer, so it's, they want someone on the ground in a certain place, but there's more and more I've seen with UFC dietitians working with that group than I've ever seen before in the last, 2 or 3 years. So they must really need it. Like they must really, it's getting big. And they are definitely athletes who it can go the wrong way. So they need to be smart about it, stay healthy, stay safe.
There are guys like walking up to the scale and they can barely even walk to it because you get a whole day to recover in the UFC.
Right.
Like in wrestling, and in college wrestling, you only get 2 hours to recover. But like, if they felt like they had a whole day, they're like, okay, I can cut 20.
I can eat, cut, and yeah, exactly. And go so dehydrated, and their electrolytes are off, and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, it's wild.
So when your coach at Penn State, did she directly tell you to not eat, or?
I saw it happening, and actually she only lasted for about another, I think it was either 4 or 5 months, and then she was let go, which was the appropriate response in that case from the university. And so then I had a different coach from that time forward throughout my entire career through a 5th year for me, since I didn't do anything my first year, so that I had that 5th year to have my eligibility of total 4 years. So yeah, I ended up with the same person the whole way through, and she was fabulous. So lucky for me, that didn't continue for very long because they realized that things were not going the right way. And, thank heavens, like a lot of these girls were having terrible, terrible issues. So like she wasn't around for long, which was good.
So you graduate college. When does the longer distance like catch your attention? Like getting into that?
I graduated in 2002, and so then 2005 I did my first I think it was my first marathon. So I definitely did, maybe I did one in the year prior or something, because I did Boston in 2005. So I ran Boston, and then my friend who said to me, oh, like the one that was at Penn State, the one that's had a lot of issues with her bone mineral density her whole life, because she was on the same team with me, and she's a dietitian, so we're basically living the same life. We did pro triathlon together. So she was like, we need to do triathlons. And I was like, Beth, I can't swim. Like I literally am 25 years old and I do not know how to swim. I don't know if this is a time for me to do triathlons. And she's like, oh, we can totally learn how to swim. I said, oh, okay, sounds great. Let's just try to learn. So she was trying it, you know, a little bit before me. So she was maybe 6 months in. She's like, this is going to be so fun. We're going to do this race and that race. And then she signed up for Ironman Lake Placid literally within the next year. I could barely swim still. And I signed up too. And I was like, this is a stupid decision. Like, we're making dumb decisions here. We need to back it down, figure out what the heck we're doing at these shorter distances, not sign up for an Ironman yet. So we both, you know, had to lose all that money or whatever it was we did by like 2006, 2007. But by 2009, I was doing all the half Ironmans and traveling around to different places. And then 2011-ish, I turned pro. So yeah, that's kind of the time period in which I started really loving it and then becoming obsessed with it, which is always helpful. If you're going to be really good, you better be obsessed. So, and I was. So I'm sure people hate, I literally look back at my own Facebook posts and I'm like, oh my gosh, I was so obsessed. I bet people were just so annoyed with me. But
when you initially started, was it like one of those bad obsessions where you like only cared about that, or how was it?
What did you see? What was the question? Like what it was like when I started?
Yeah. With your obsession, is that like the only thing you loved? Was that how you felt?
I mean, I just really was, I was just doing that and working. So it was trying to figure out how to put all three sports together when you have no background except for running. Mm-hmm. So, you know, what kind of bike do I need? What kind of equipment do I need? How do I ride this thing? You know, what are all the different metrics that you can learn about on a bike, like cadence, power, heart rate? You know, I got a coach myself. So then that person was helping to guide me to figure out what to do for workouts and, you know, all those things. So how do I incorporate 3 different sports, trying to figure out how to work out X amount of time per week and, you know, like really dial in all those different areas. So I did like it because there was a lot to learn, like, you know, not only coming from one sport, running but it was nice to have that be still part of it because I had so much background with it. So I knew at least at the run at the end, I was going to have some idea of what I could do, but the other 2 were so, especially in water. Like, I don't know, have you ever swam? It's so hard.
I don't know how to swim.
I mean, I was the same way. I was literally a sinker. I was just sinking. So I did 6 months of drills and trying to learn body position and do all this kind of stuff. And, you know, I was never good, but I was just good enough that I could stay somewhat close in the race, that I would be good enough that the other 2 usually, you know, were good enough for me. But yeah, I just loved being upset. I pretty much was just obsessed with that. I'll say that. That was true. That's when everybody else was having kids. I wasn't doing any of that. I was just traveling around the world doing triathlon. So
swimming is such a great workout too, especially when you're not good at it. Like I've done like kind of swimming workouts, and then your body just feels different.
It does. You have no like point in which you're touching something, like you have no contact point. So that's why everything you do in the water matters, because it's such, you know, it's like you can go all directions. So your energy can go out all these other places. So if you're not putting it towards moving forward, you're losing it everywhere else. So, you know, whereas running, contact point with the ground, biking, contact point with the pedals, swimming, nothing, free for all. So you have to do the fundies. Like you have to learn the fundamentals with swimming first. And then if you can do that, you can really get somewhere. So I always tell people, you know, you got to start with somebody who knows what they're doing, can look at your form, a program that can help look at your form. There's a bunch of those out there, like Total Immersion and a couple other ones that will help you get started in the right way. So you don't imprint the wrong things. Thousands of strokes, people imprint the wrong things. So then it's like, it's here, you know, that's hard.
I hear that swimming is like really good for your muscles too. Like you kind of like can't get injured. There's this former pro volleyball player and her husband who are like bringing actual weights into the pool and doing lifting underwater.
Yeah, I've seen spin bikes underwater. Like people are underwater because the resistance, you know what I mean, on the pedals. So that's really interesting. And yeah, certainly people can get overuse injuries, I think, like a rotator, you know what I mean, cuff and things like that, you know, making sure that's why you have to really make sure you strengthen everything, you know, in that back part of your area, that posterior chain. But as long as you're, you know, both stretching, strengthening, making sure this is all flexible, I think you're in a good spot. But it's, yeah, if you're not doing all the other stuff to keep everything around it after using it, yeah, other than overuse, you know, tendons and things like that. It's pretty tough to get injured swimming.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get into that now that I don't have any interest in running.
There you go. That could work.
I have zero interest in running.
I will say it's a skill. It's a life skill. Like my kids are going to be in swimming. I don't care what they say for at least probably 2 or 3 years, because if I had just been in it for even 2 or 3 years, once you learn it, it's like riding a bike. You never ever lose that very fundamental like feel for the water, and kids can get it. What was disheartening for me was like I was 25 and these kids are 12 and they're just whooping up on me in the lane next to me, and I'm just like, seriously? But they've been swimming since they were 5, so they have like 6-7 years on me already, and but their mind and their body already got it. So like they'll never lose that. They could step away from it for 15 years and come back to it. Someone like me that never learned it, it was trying to learn as an adult was so hard, so much different. So my kids are A, learning to swim so they don't drown, and B, so that in case they ever want to be a pro triathlete or be able to like, fall off a boat and be okay. You know what I mean? Like someone like me, I can swim, I used to swim in the river. I used to swim like 2 miles, just have somebody kayak next to me. And, those are good life skills to have. Makes me feel more comfortable as an adult that if push came to shove, I can get myself ashore, not from way far, but within a couple miles I could. so that's
Your kids are gonna get like kind of that unintentional pressure of just being kids.
Probably. I definitely only am going to want them to do stuff long term that they actually want to do. Like I'll never say, oh, well, you have to choose this sport. But I want them to be exposed to a bunch from the time when they're, 4, 5 to 8. Try a bunch of different things. Let's try gymnastics. Let's try dance. Let's try swimming. And then kind of see what sticks. Like, what do they really like? And I'm kind of hoping it'll be things like swimming or soccer or, there's not a lot of running for kids at that age, but some kind of something that can aid them later, like that they can get to later and have it be good for them. Yeah.
If like they ever make excuses as to why they can't do something, show the older one that you did something a year after having her.
Kyle does say, he's like, we can always show them your videos, because I do tell him like what they missed out on this whole part of my life. Like I'm just mommy to them. I don't really have any other. They know I work and they know I go to school and I teach and, but they don't really know any of that other part of my life. He's like, we have lots of videos. And he's right. So someday, maybe when they're not embarrassed to know me, maybe they'll watch some of them. I'm sure they will be embarrassed to know me at some point. You know how all you people get. My mom, dropped me off 3 blocks away. Like, I don't want anyone to see you. So I'm sure that point will be coming, but for now, they love me. So it's great. They are like, the best feeling is when you come in and they're just like, I'm so happy to see you.
Yeah,
all over you.
You're like just mom. They're like, oh, you ran Ironmans, whatever. You're just mom.
Yeah, they don't care. Do not care one bit. They're like, when can you make me food? When can you take me to the pool or to somewhere fun to see my friends? That's your job.
They're not impressed at all.
Yeah, just you have no pride. Your pride is completely just, there is none. So that's how it is.
One day they'll give you your credit.
One day it'll be good for them. I do think it's good to set a good example regardless. So, hopefully come to some races eventually.
Do you see yourself?
Come to the United Way 5K. They did come to that this year. So I ran the 10, but I'm hoping to be back for the 5K this coming fall. So mark my words, you and I should be there. Let's do the 5K.
All right, maybe. Yeah, you can.
Maybe yeah.
It's
not that far. It's not that far. You can do it.
I could do it. I tested my mile after not running for 6 months, and I ran a 6.
Oh, let me guess. Don't tell me.
Okay.
So you didn't run for 6 months.
No.
How much do you weigh?
I weighed 210.
Okay, 210. I'm gonna say, boy, this is tough. 655.
I ran a 630.
Wow, nice. That was good.
I was expecting like
solid.
That was
better than I thought.
Because when I got on, I just started kind of jogging. I was like, all right, let's see how I can do this. And then I was expecting to be closer to the 8s. I was like, I feel kind of heavy right now. And then I just started feeling it, but.
Good for you. Nice. Well, my kids are losing their mind out there. So if you have any other pressing questions, I hear a lot of crying, so I might have to go.
Oh, okay. What's in the near future for Kim?
Um, Definitely still lifting, and I definitely want to start trying some ultras. You know, in that 50K kind of range, I think is a good one. And other than that, I'll probably run another marathon, and I'll probably do a half Ironman this year, like somewhere. If they even have, I mean, there's obviously a lot of races have been canceled. Nobody knows what they're having, but if I can find one drivable that I can get into, then I'm doing it. And I will do that literally with no training. I would just show up if that's what it took, because I'm just not scared. Like, I know that I can finish it. It might not be what I would like, but even if I don't get to put in, you know, a solid 3 months ahead of time or something, I'd still show up and just do it just to do it. So, so yeah, stuff like that. No huge like exact plans, but maybe that Moraine State Park one, maybe I'll see some people there.
That's so awesome. But
Yeah, we'll see.
Kim, you're an inspiration. People are gonna look at this and they're gonna want to get up and get out and start running. I know it.
Well, I hope they do, because I seriously think anybody can start with something small. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. Like, you don't have to do anything, you know, life-changing. You just have to get out there. So if people can do that, you know, amazed what they can do in 5-6 months. Just a little consistency goes a long way. So so it's good. It's good for all of us. We got to keep moving in these crazy times.
Right. For sure.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, Ashby. I do appreciate it. That was wild that you asked. I didn't know you were still doing this stuff. So nice to see that you are.
Thank you for being on. It's an honor having you on, honestly.
Oh, you're nice. Well, let me know who else, other guests, so I can make sure I listen, or like where I find this.
Okay, I'll let you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Sounds good. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Yep, you too. See ya.
See ya.